Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and ohio, everybody. What is going on? It is Galeriot here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi Memoria Freese video. And today we are going to be taking a look at the first banners to release in 2023 and the latest reruns to come to Danmemo. These are, of course, the Valhalla Panic Gacha banners, or as they're better known as, the New Year's Gacha banners. Of course, these banners contain some very interesting units, and I know you guys are probably wondering whether or not you should summon for these units, specifically one in particular. But of course, that's what we're here to do today. We're here to go over all of these units, and we're here to talk about whether or not these units are worth summoning for in the rerun format. Now, of course, if you guys go on to enjoy this video, remember to leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel for more Danmachi and Danmachi Memoria Freeze content, and of course, leave a comment down below as well. Let me know if you guys did summon on these banners, and if so, what did you guys end up getting? I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say down below. Now, Valhalla Panic Gacha banners. We have the Heaven banner and of course the Shangri-La banner. And I think, in all honesty, the Shangri-La banner is a little bit better in terms of overall value. I feel like all three units are a little bit better, but the Heaven banner has one unit in particular who is fantastic, and he is currently right behind my head. It is, of course, the boy Alan. Let's go over all of these units and let's see what they are capable of doing. We'll start off with the Heaven banner, of course, because as I said, I feel like Alan is probably the best banner unit out of all 6 units, and there's a reason for that in particular. So let's take a look at Party Goddess Aphrodite first and foremost. A water magic attack type unit, our first Aphrodite actually, that's non-time limited, so it's a fantastic option for a lot of players to pick up just for CP Iris. Now, like I've said for a very long time, especially when I've spoken about the 5th anniversary banners and stuff, when it comes to CP units, right, it's a very tricky affair, because if you have the CP items, you will be able to regain your Iris and then some. If you don't have the CP Iris and everything, it becomes a lot trickier to recommend summoning for these characters. So I would say be very careful when you're going for these units, especially if you're looking to try and get them for CP purposes. But yes, Aphrodite, a water magic attack type unit. You can see her stats are right there. Very solid overall, higher endurance stats in compensation for having a lower agility stat, good dexterity, decent magic. So overall, pretty solid unit. Let's see what she's capable of doing in her special arts and combat skill. So let's start off with the big one, the special arts. Gorgeous Party Knight. AoE Ultra Water Magic Attack with temporary Great Magic Boost and Ultra on God Rate, and removes status buffs and charm res and water res minus 60% for 4 turns. So as you can tell by the special arts itself, she's very much an ailment unit. I really wouldn't recommend her for PvE or almost immediately based on the special arts, and if we take a look at the rest of the kit, you will probably see why that's the case. But in terms of being part of the ailment team, she can be a part of the ailment team, but she does have some flaws, which we'll get onto in just a second when we get to the combat skills themselves. Goddess's Cry. Allies slow removes magic, agility, and MRes debuffs, which is really solid. Very nice removal buffs, or removal debuffs on allies, I should say. She also gives herself P-res and MRes 60% for 6 turns, gives her that protection, right? And then 4 additional actions of mid-water magic attack and ultra on god rate, and removes magic, agility, and MRes buffs, and 35% chance to charm on foes. Very solid ability. Honestly, the first combat skill from Aphrodite is fantastic. The only real issue I would have with this first combat skill would primarily be the fact that this slow ability is going to go first in comparison to the other slow abilities. So of course, when you are ranking the slow, fast, normal speed modifiers and then implementing the attack modifiers, things become very interesting. I spoke about it in a previous gacha rerun video actually, and you can go into more detail in that video. But basically, if Aphrodite is facing off against another slow enemy, say for example she's going up against the likes of Eyes, the Lost in Wonderland Eyes, right? The Lost Princess Eyes, the Eyes in Wonderland Eyes, I should say. More people will recognize her by that. She has a slow physical attack that has an agility debuff on, you know, implementing on allies basically, right? She implements a minus 45% agility debuff. I don't remember the exact number, but she does implement a debuff on your opponents, basically on foes, right? This Aphrodite should in theory be able to remove those debuffs, but the issue is she has a slow debuff slash buff, which means that it will go before Aiza's slow attack. Because the thing is, right, when it comes to ranking stuff, right, debuffs and buffs go first, then physical attacks, then magic attacks. Because Aphrodite's is a buff slash debuff and Aiza's is an attack, Aphrodite will go first, which makes it a really big issue in that sort of situation, right? So that's problem number one, right? Now, let's take a look at combat skill 2 and let's talk about why the additional action is also a little bit of a problem. Dance of Beauty, foes super water magic attack with temporary magic boost and ultra encounter rate and 35% charm and self magic dexterity water attack damage plus 70% for 4 turns. Now, the issue with the second skill is primarily that it's not a fast ability. The problem is that it's a super water magic attack with temporary magic boost with no additional speed modifier that will make it go first, unfortunately, which leads to an issue where basically, you know, you're not able to remove the magic agility and Emres buffs at the start of the second turn. It's going to be somewhere in the middle of the turn, which is going to cause issues, right? Overall, that's a little bit of a problem. The second problem is that she applies another 35% charm chance, but I think it should have been a charm res down chance. It's not, it shouldn't have been it should have been a charm res down, not a chance for charm res down. It should have just been a charm res down, minus 35% charm res down or minus 40% charm res down to help with the additional action. The fact that it's another 35% charm doesn't really help the initial charm chance anyways, so that becomes a little bit of a problem as well. Overall, it's just that she's lacking certain things that would have made her amazing, and that's a little bit of a problem with her in my personal opinion when it even comes to PvP, in all honesty, because she is going to be used in PvP primarily because of the fact that she is a ailment unit at the end of the day, right? And of course, with all her agility removals and stuff like that, debuffs and buff removals and stuff like that, her main aim is to be used in PvP. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend her because of these flaws. I really wouldn't. Graceful Hands is a single target super water magic attack with temporary great magic boost and ultra on guard rate and charm. Again, not really for PvE, and as a result, she is not amazing for PvP. She's good, but not amazing for PvP, and she's downright unusable in PvE. Well, you can use her. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh with the unusable part. She's not like a 2017, 2018 unit. She's still able to handle her own and be able to inflict damage on an enemy, but you'd only run her in very specific scenarios wherein the enemy has, like, you know, water res down and magic res down. And if you take a look at her passives, if it's also weak to aqua attacks, you know, aqua killer basically. So yeah, that's my personal opinion on this. In terms of the additional passives, she gets a 50% chance to inflict charm on the foe she is countering, which again would have been better if she had the charm res down ability, you know, but oh well, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. All right, let's take a look at Hegni now. Edgy Dreamer Hegni Ragnar, dark physical attack type unit. Stats are pretty solid, a little bit lower dexterity in favor of endurance, nothing to cry about, to be quite honest. Overall very solid. Special Arts Faded Scratch is an AoE ultra dark physical attack with temporary great strength boost and ultra on guard rate and P-res and dark res minus 60% for 3 turns. Very solid PvE ability, mainly because he's inflicting double debuffs on the enemy. 2 minus 60% debuffs is very solid. I think the main issue I would have with the Special Arts, if any, is probably the fact that it's only a temporary great strength boost and not a damage modifier. But still, overall, nice Special Arts, in all honesty. Nothing to really, you know, complain about in terms of like, oh, you know, it's not good for PvE, it's not good for PvP. It's solid. It's not amazing, it's solid, I would say. Definitely very, very nice. His first combat skill, Nactuot, is a AoE super dark physical attack with ultra encounter rate and STR magic and agility minus 40%. Very solid there. The only thing I would have preferred is maybe if it was fast or slow. I think that would have made it a lot better, and it actually would have made him a alternative to Eyes in Wonderland Eyes, right? If it was slow potentially. He also gives himself 70% STR for 4 turns and 3 additional actions of mid-dark physical attack, damage plus 40% per each self-dark attack damage buff, and heal reduction skill. Very nice ability. I think the only thing a lot of people would be very confused about is what is the heal reduction skill. Basically, if there's a heal minus 40% or something like that, I think it would basically help you out in that regards. Otherwise, it's basically going to be around 80 to 120% at most. And the reason why I say it's going to be at 120% is if you look at his second skill, Chaos Field, allies fast dark attack damage and seal rest plus 60% and heal minus 40% for 4 turns. Yes, he does debuff himself and his allies. Now, not a lot of people are a big fan of that because it, you know, is a heal reduction skill on all allies, not himself, not just himself, I should say. But yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that actually helps him out with his additional action actually. He also inflicts the foes with Dark Res, Endurance, and Heal minus 40%, and damage received attack type all targets plus 35% for 4 turns, and removes HP regen. Very solid second skill as well. Nothing to, complain about necessarily. I mean, you could complain a little bit about the heal minus 40%, but it kind of goes really well with the first skill. Again, like I said, the only thing I would have probably changed about that first skill is if it was slow, to be quite honest, because again, in fact, I would say that the main issue is, right, having something that's just in between, not fast or slow, is a little bit of a problem for a lot of these units nowadays. I feel you can still get away with having a without having a fast modifier or a slow modifier, but that's something to bear in mind. Guilty Sword is his third skill, and it's a single target super dark physical attack, damage plus 70% per each target's. So this is the foe's target or foe's heal reduction skill and ultra critical rate. So you can get up to 140% with the right assist as well, which is a lot trickier and a lot easier said than done, but it's something that you can achieve as well. Overall, not bad. He's okay. He's solid, I would say. Nothing, again, probably like a B or A tier unit at most, to be quite honest. His main passive change compared to most units is that on counters, he gives an extra turn of status debuff, basically, which is, again, very solid, good for going up against units that have too many buffs like stall units and stuff like that. Kind of helps out, and by extending those status debuffs and making sure they're not reducing the turn count of those debuffs, basically. Now, let's take a look at the best unit, in my personal opinion, from the Valhalla Panic set. We have conceded... English is a very hard language, clearly. Conceded host Alan Fromel. Now, his ability is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Schwartz Katz is a allies agility plus 20% and foes damage received increasing ability by 15% from both AoE and single target attacks. Yeah. He's amazing. Again, really good for agility control. You are basically going to go extremely fast with this dude. He is amazing, right? He is basically, obviously, Alf is capable of doing 20% to self and 15% to all allies. But this guy is 20% to all allies. He's really, really good. Highly recommended unit, and probably the one unit I really can't blame you guys if you wanted to go for him, because he is just that good. Of course, we are bound to get a agility debuffer as well in the anniversary. Somebody actually mentioned it in my Discord and in other channels as well, is that apparently and this is actually true, and the more I thought about it, since the second anniversary, if I'm not mistaken, we've always gotten a agility debuffer in every single anniversary. It's very possible and very, very likely that this anniversary as well, we are going to get one. So bear that in mind. Obviously, this guy is fantastic, but we will get some form of agility control during the anniversary as well. It's very, very possible. So very solid unit. Maybe get a copy of him if you can. He is a non-time limited unit, so you are likely to get him from tickets, or I should say it is a chance to get him from tickets. It's not likely because there are 600 units in the general pool at this point or something like that, I swear. So bear that in mind, of course, right? Bear that in mind that it's not easy to pull a random assist from the general pool, but it's not impossible either. It's just very, very low odds. All right, let's go over to the Shangri-La banner. I moved over too many times there. the Shangri-La banner featuring Seer, Hayden, and Asfi. Actually, before we get into the Shangri-La banner, another unit, or 2 units I should talk about when it comes to their CP, is ANNI and Hayden. Both are getting their second iterations with these banners. We actually don't have any other form of ANNI and Hayden. If we take a look at the album actually really quickly before we come back and actually check them out, these are the only 2 iterations of these dudes. So again, if you're looking for CP Iris, these guys are also candidates as well. I went by too fast. There they are. They're right here next to Fianna. If you look over there, second row that you're seeing there, right? Hayden, ANNI. So there are only 2 iterations of them. Again, I really wouldn't blame you guys if you're trying to get your first copies and your first copies of their characters, basically, I should say. So yeah, I wouldn't blame you guys. I wouldn't blame you guys at all, because again, CP Iris and stuff, right? But yes, let's take a look at this banner. I do believe this banner is a little bit better overall in terms of value, because all 3 units are very useful, whereas compared to here where Alan is the main dude here, whereas the other 2 are solid, nothing too crazy, just okay to solid. These guys, I feel, Asfi for a PvE unit, and of course Hayden just generally as well is a pretty solid unit in my personal opinion, especially for PvE content. So let's take a look at Rowdy Guest Asfi Al Andromeda, a light magic attack type unit, so kind of fits into the light team in a way, not necessarily completely, because she is a magic unit, but she can hold her own, of course, being a light unit, and of course being supported by all the light units that are available, of course, right? If you take a look at her stats, very solid stats overall. A little bit lower agility, you could argue, but it's been spread out evenly across endurance, dexterity, and magic as well. Her special art, Psycho Complainer, is a single target ultra light magic attack, damage plus 70% per each self magic buff skill, so about 140% damage there. Could have been a little bit better, but then you can see why she's, you know, not giving herself that much of a buff, because with ultra penetration rate, she also gives herself magic and light attack damage plus 100% for 3 turns, and 4 additional actions of high light magic attack, and removes STR and magic buffs on a foe. So the additional actions that she's getting from the special arts along with the self buffs basically makes it so that, you know, you can kind of get away with having a lower damage boosting modifier on that, you know, special arts. It makes sense, right? It does make sense in that regards, because the damage is compensated by the additional actions and the buff itself. Her first combat skill, Senton Bomb, is a single target high light magic attack with temporary magic boost and ultra on god rate, and MRes and critical rate minus 40% for 4 turns, and 3 additional actions of mid light magic attack, and once again removes STR and magic buffs on a foe. Again, really good for protecting the team, right? Being able to remove the STR and magic buffs on a foe, both on the special arts and the additional actions of the first skill, right? But again, the MRes down is very, very handy. And if you're looking for a light res down, you know, sort of like adventure, you of course have the likes of Finn and so on and so forth. So I wouldn't necessarily stress too much about the fact that she can't give herself light res down, because there are other options like that, basically. Liberty Liquor is a self-fast magic light attack damage and counter rate up plus 70% buff, and along with that she also gives allies the same buffs, except it's a lower amount, 50% for 4 turns. Very solid second skill, again giving herself magic light attack damage and counter rate. You know how much I, you know, harp on about how good counter rate is in PvE content, right? So her giving herself that is fantastic. This is a unit I really wanted to get when she first came out. Unfortunately, I didn't pull her in my first multi, so I had to go away without her, but it is what it is. Her third skill, Scorpion Deathlock, is super light magic attack, damage plus 60% per each self counter rate buff skill, and high penetration rate, and removes MRes buffs. Now, the main issue I have with this skill, right, is mainly that it's just counter rate buff skill and not magic buff skill. I think it would have been a lot easier with magic buff skill. Counter rate is also not unlikely. You are in fact probably going to want to run a counter rate buff skilling up assist, right? She gives herself counter rate anyways, but along with that you want an assist that gives the same buff, right, to get like double the damage boost, basically 120%, right? But I mean, still, it's a little bit annoying because magic would be a lot easier in my personal opinion. But still, very solid assist, adventure, sorry, I should say. And I love it. I love her a lot. And she's very, very good. Counter damage plus 65% as well. Very solid. Overall, very solid PvE unit. You know, in the right situation, you chuck her in, she'll do extremely well, I feel. She'll do extremely well. Of course, the only issue is that on a light team, if you're running a light team, you're going to want to run everybody that's physical, right? Hence why you wouldn't see Asfi. And in terms of the other light magic units, you don't have that many options. Hence why Asfi is kind of in a no man's or a no entry zone, basically, or in a basically where nobody is existing. Basically, she's in limbo effectively, which is unfortunate because I think she's really solid. Uraba Sword Heirin Selrand, let's take a look at him, shall we? Another water magic attack type unit, and you can see his abilities right there. Very high dexterity, decent endurance, lower agility basically as a result of that, but overall very solid. His special arts Bubbly Hilder is an AoE ultra water magic attack, damage plus 100% per each self magic buff skill, 200% damage there on special arts. Very solid. It's an AoE attack as well, so again, PvE AoE unit. Heirin is fantastic. He also gives allies water attack damage plus 100% for 4 turns. Very solid ability. Again, like I said, PvE, very good PvE unit. His first skill, Cold Gaze, is allies agility, dexterity, critical rate, penetration rate plus 40% for 5 turns, and he also gives himself 4 actions of mid-water magic attack and ultra penetration rate and damage received attack type all and single targets reduction. Whoa, let's backtrack a bit so that we can get an idea of this. Sorry, the notification disturbed me. Do not disturb and Gale Ride. What's different? What's new? Damage received attack type all and single targets reduction and status buff minus 2 turns on foes. Very solid in my personal opinion. I think that's really solid. Again, kind of helps out against stall teams in a way, right? Sword of Dignity, foes slow high water magic attack with temporary magic boost and ultra encounter rate, and damage received attack type all targets plus 40% and MRes minus 30% and self plus magic plus 80% and water attack damage plus 60%. Now my issue with this ability, right, is and this is where Hegni becomes a little bit in my personal opinion when it comes to at least PvP, right, is it's just so weird. Now of course if you use Heirin in I think I might have said Hegni earlier on, my bad. Heirin, if you use Heirin in PvP, I'm pretty sure I said Hegni. If you use Heirin in PvP, right, let me know how you use him. I'm very curious. But the issue I have with Heirin, right, is that his abilities seem like it should have been the other way around. So his Sword of Dignity should have been the first ability, and it should have also had the additional actions, and then his buffs in the first combat skill as well as the debuffs should have been in the second skill, in my personal opinion. I think that would have been way better, in all honesty. Maybe the agility buff could have been part of the first skill as well, the foes skill. Maybe the allies agility plus 40% could have been slow high water magic attack agility plus 40% for all allies, and then the rest of the buffs and everything would have been part of the second skill. But yeah, it's just a little bit weird because I feel like, you know, it could have been way better because he's a slow high water magic attack. Like I said earlier on with Aphrodite, right, having a slow ability would work tremendously, you know, slow magic attack, because you're gonna go last always, right? Now, I know that they might have tried to design them in such a way where, you know, it blends well with both units being run together. That's the idea of making Heirin also a water magic unit, so he, you know, he goes well with Aphrodite. But still, I feel like, you know, that would have made him just a little bit better. He's still really good for PvE content, of course, with those abilities. His third skill, Adel Donor, is a single target high water magic attack, damage plus 80% per each self magic buff skill, and high penetration rate. Very solid third skill again for PvE content, so nothing to complain about there, to be quite honest. And you can see his abilities right here. Gets a good magic and dexterity boost there, 40%, very solid. Rare to see something like that, that number, to be quite honest, for a new unit. And then 25% critical damage and 25% damage upon penetration. Very solid overall. Now let's take a look at Seer, Camilla Girl Seer Flover. As you can see, a very stall based assist by the baseline stats and higher endurance stat, and you can see by the assist skill as well, Girls Adventure, the MLB one, it's foes STR and magic minus 25% and self plus 3 instant effects of when magically attacked, 40% HP heal, and removes MRes debuffs on allies once per turn. She's basically the magic variant of the Haruhime from Xenos reverse, basically. So really good for stall, especially now with the magic meta being around at this moment in time. Seer is a better assist compared to Haruhime to be running in the meta right now. Magic units are just everywhere, to be quite honest, I feel like, with Elise and everything. But who knows, maybe Haruhime will be better once we get the anniversary, right? So that's something to bear in mind. Very good assist, but and probably we'll see a lot of time right now, but when the anniversary comes around, things may change. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the two banners yourselves. Hopefully you guys think it's good. If you have these units, fantastic. If you don't have these units, again, I would always recommend being very cautious when summoning on these banners. We are only a week away from the anniversary, and I think it's high time people start saving. So for me personally, as much as, you know, Alan is probably the best agility control in the game right now, and of course you have the likes of Hayden, Osfi, you know, Seer, save. I mean, there's no other option. You gotta save. You gotta save, guys. It's time. It's time. I don't need to tell you more than that, to be honest. Of course, if you guys enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and like I said, save up. We're a week from the anniversary. I'm very excited to get into it, and I'm very excited to create content during it. I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.